Well, joining me now in studio is the Democratic Republic of the Congo's Foreign Minister, Thérèse Kayikwamba Wagner. Great to have you on the BBC. As I'm sure you would know, previous peace deals in the region have not been successful. How satisfied are you that this deal will succeed?
I think this deal holds a lot of promise because we have seen in a very short time the U.S. put the full weight of its diplomatic apparatus behind this deal, and I think it is with the support of the U.S. but also with their key role as a facilitator and as a champion of this agreement that we will have a partner that has the capacity to hold all stakeholders accountable for the commitments that they have subscribed to in this agreement.
You know, this deal is being hailed as historic. We heard the French President Emmanuel Macron saying exactly those words. It has been criticized, though, by some as short on details. What's your response to that? How much work do you think needs to be done in terms of actually implementing this peace agreement?
Well, first of all, there's been a lot of speculation about the agreement before it was signed. So even if there was a lot of criticism, we have to bear in mind that a lot of this criticism happened in a setting where the agreement itself was not available. As of today, it is available, and I think that when people have the time to read it, they will see that it is a very rich agreement, that it covers a lot of critical issues. At the same time, we're cognizant of the fact that an agreement does not exist in a vacuum. So there are a lot of other efforts that will have to converge and ensure that this agreement has the necessary ecosystem to bear the fruits that it has the promise to bear.
I wanted to ask you about Rwanda. There's been a lot of disagreement or back and forth about the actual role that Rwanda has played in this conflict. Throughout it all, we've heard a lot of denials from Rwanda that it is backing these M23 rebels. Is that true?
Well, the fact that we have signed an agreement with Rwanda is pretty telling about the level of involvement and the character of the conflict. It is not only a conflict with Congolese stakeholders, but it is also a conflict that goes beyond our borders with one of our neighboring countries. The agreement itself, and again, I point to the fact that it is accessible, highlights precisely the issue, first of all, of refraining, for both parties to refrain from providing any support to armed groups, and I think that is a very telling element in the agreement. But also the second aspect that is critical is that the agreement highlights the fact that the CONOPS, the concept of operations, needs to be implemented, which foresees the withdrawal of Rwandan forces from Congolese territory. So I think, again, now that we have the agreement and that it is readily available, we can also see through its detail the nature of the conflict and the scope and responsibilities of all stakeholders.
I wanted to ask you about the involvement of the United States, of course, in brokering this deal. What role did President Trump or the Trump administration play? And, how concerned are you that the motivation here from the U.S. could be more about access to critical minerals than about ensuring that there is a lasting peace in the country?
Well, I think it's, first of all, important to highlight the fact that today we did not sign a commercial agreement. We signed a peace agreement. And I think this is a very telling aspect in terms of the U.S. administration's strategy, if you want, and commitment to peace in the Great Lakes region. The fact that peace was, first of all, prioritized as a foundation for any subsequent investment or economic agreement that could be signed. And I think this is very telling, and it shows also that the Trump administration has duly understood and is of the opinion that in order to have successful business environment and investments, you first of all need peace. You first of all need the restoration of state authority. And this is exactly what this agreement foresees. And again, it would not have happened if the necessary political impetus had not been mobilized. And we saw a lot of that from the Trump administration in the past weeks leading up to the signing of this agreement.
If this peace deal is successful, just remind us, what would that mean to the people of your country? Thousands of people have been killed, I believe. Hundreds of thousands have been forced from their homes.
Millions. Millions have been killed over the years. Millions have been displaced. For now, a large part of the population in Eastern DRC lives under occupation. This agreement holds immense promise for them. We have been receiving calls throughout the day from people in the East, hoping that this agreement will yield in the departure of those occupying forces. So it is an agreement that bears immense hope for our population, hope for those who are displaced, hope for those who have been victims of violations, and also hope for those who, in a very legitimate manner, like anyone else in the world, wants to send their children to school, wants to build a future, and wants to live in prosperity. So this is the true promise of this agreement, concretely for the Congolese people.
In terms of the civilians that have been caught in the middle, and you mentioned the many people, millions really, is there a way now to seek some sort of justice for them?
Again, you know, an agreement is part of an ecosystem, and the Congolese government, President Tshisekedi, has always been a firm defender of the rights of populations that have been victimized through conflict, but also of their rights to access to justice. And so this is a priority for the Congolese government, both justice looking at the local level between stakeholders who are Congolese, but also in a broader scope. Again, today we have signed an agreement not within or amongst Congolese, but as two different countries. So I think there is an element of justice that needs to be taken into account, both at the local level, but also at a broader scope at the regional level.
Thérèse Kayikwamba Wagner, the Foreign Minister of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, President Trump says he's hopeful that a ceasefire in Gaza could come next week as negotiations reportedly intensify now to end that conflict. Meanwhile, the Hamas-run health ministry says 74 people have been killed in Gaza in the last 24 hours. Many of them died in incidents near aid distribution points, including those operated by the U.S. and Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. The UN says Israeli forces have killed Palestinian civilians near GHF sites on an almost daily basis. The aid group's chair told the BBC today that international agencies, including the UN, are spreading disinformation. Humanitarian organizations say that the GHF is bypassing humanitarian practices and principles. On Friday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres made his bluntest statement on the GHF yet, calling its operation inherently unsafe.